And good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of JMU Sound Off. I am Jonathan McNamara. We are just 6 days away from opening day at Bridgeforth Stadium. So much to get into before we get to that game today. We are very, very lucky to have Melissa Wyant, who's the Assistant AD for Creative Services and Fan Engagement. We're going to give her an opportunity to tell us a little more about the Marvel partnership and everything that goes around with it. One of the first program in the country to be able to have a partnership of this magnitude. So we want to get into all of that, as well as what fans can expect to see when they arrive inside Bridgeforth Stadium next Saturday as the Dukes get set to take on Weber State. Then we're going to preview the Dukes matchup against Weber State. We're going to go into everything you need to know about Weber State, and then we're going to do some predictions for the season, so you're going to not want to miss that. We want to get right to thanking our sponsors, though, for this week. Skyline Financial Partners, empowering families for lasting financial success. Learn more at skylinefinancialservices.com. Champions Drive Bourbon, you have 1 week to make sure you are stocked up and ready to go with Champions Drive for Game 1. You can find it at select ABC stores, and to find a location near you, visit virginia.abc.gov. Also want to give a shout out to our friends at Where's Woody. Remember, you can get 25% off the entire site by using promo code SOUNDOFF25. Remember, there are still a few of the solar short sleeve hoodies left, and you get them at where'swoody.com. Shout out to our friends at Shoker Enterprises, as well as the Dead Meat Society. You can join the movement for grilling enthusiasts at deadmeatsociety.com. And then our friends from Outdoor Kitchen Creations, take your outdoor space to the next level at outdoorkitchencreations.com. And with that, we're going to get right to Melissa Wyant, once again, the Assistant AD for Creative Services and Fan Engagement, and she is looking to join us now. Melissa, I did bring out my Marvel mask. Just to show you I was in the spirit of things. I know a lot of people are super pumped about this announcement this week, because it's just, again, a great example of the unique efforts you all are taking to make sure that fans have a great experience inside Bridgeforth Stadium. So we're going to get to that in a second, but I wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself and tell fans of the show a little bit about your role at James Madison University.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. So Melissa Wyant, our Assistant AD for Creative Services and Fan Engagement. I oversee the photo, video, and graphics staff that produce a lot of the content that you guys see on social media. And then our fan engagement staff, which is really focused on providing the best fan atmosphere we can at all of our venues. I'm just now finishing up my 8th year in this at JMU in total, but I've been in various roles since. Coming back. I'm also JMU grad, so bleed purple, it runs deep.
So what was your major at JMU? Were you SMAD too, or?
I was a SMAD major.
I figured as much. Got to give SMAD a shout out, as was I. One thing we've talked about a lot on this show just over the last couple of years is it is so obvious the efforts that this team and your team and the media team is taking to enhance the atmosphere inside Bridgeforth Stadium, from the DJ and the music, which has really taken a step in a direction that I think is, I haven't heard anybody say anything but glowing remarks about what that has brought to Bridgeforth Stadium, to the on-field activities and everything's around it. It's been impressive to watch, and I think it's really translated into making Bridgeforth, the atmosphere that teams have to come in to play us, that much more difficult. This week, you did make a major announcement about one of those next steps in a direction to enhance the atmosphere, and it's against Washington State. That game is going to be the Marvel night and everything that's going to come with it. If fans missed that announcement, give them a little insight into what this partnership is going to be like, and then maybe take us behind the curtains for how this came to be.
Yeah, so we will be the first collegiate team to ever partner with Marvel in this way. You guys have probably seen a lot of other like NFL or MLB teams do a very similar partnership with Marvel, but we'll be the first collegiate school to do it. So with our partnership with them, we'll have 15,000 posters that will be co-branded. It will be very comic driven. It'll be Duke Dog surrounded by some Avengers. And we're in the process right now with Marvel and solidifying what that will look like. And then we'll also have 2,000 co-branded hats that we're giving away. And we're really excited to just be able to do this, but it's also going to be more than just those items. We're going to blow it up from pregame to in-game. All of the things that you guys are going to see, you're going to know it's Marvel Day. If you miss it, you're not paying attention. So we're really excited. It's been a long time coming, like you mentioned. When football season ends, we immediately start planning for the next season. And so Jake Longenecker, who is our director of fan engagement here, he was like, hey, I'd love to do something Marvel themed. And in my brain, I was like, we've got to figure out licensing and branding and all of that. So we started those conversations really early on in the new year. It takes a lot to try to figure that out, from procurement to the business office to buy-in from Matt and Jeff. And all of them, we didn't get hit with a single piece of resistance. It was always full steam ahead. Let's figure out how to do this because it'll be awesome.
So when you make an announcement like that, I mean, I saw the reaction on platforms like Twitter, and it was pretty universally positive for people saying, wow, this is going to be something that's a lot of fun. But there's a business impact on this as well, is that this could be something that draws in maybe casual fans who are, maybe not diehards or season ticket holders, but they're fans of Marvel, and give them an opportunity to maybe go to their first JMU game in a while, or the first JMU game ever. I feel like that has to be a part of what's exciting about this, is that there's a ton of people, not just in the Shenandoah Valley, but around the state, that this could really be attractive to. And plus, when you talk about all the costumes and everything that's going to go into Bridgeforth, it could make for a pretty special atmosphere.
Yeah, and we're really excited for that. I mean, any chance that we can get to bring a new fan into Bridgeforth and show them what our fan experience is like is just another chance for us to try to get them back again. And that's really the goal of promotions like these, is to drive that community engagement beyond just our local city, but let's bring in new fans that have never experienced it before, that may want to come back again because of the experience they had.
Yeah, and that's great to hear. And I know there are still some single game tickets available, not just for that game, but other games on the schedule. And this, again, goes right to what we talked to Matt Rohn about last week, is that goal of selling out 6 for 6 and what that does for this athletics program, just in the message it sends, but also, again, creating 6 incredible atmospheres that our end goal is to win all those 6 games. The best way you can do that is to make sure that there is a hostile and engaged audience and crowd in the stands. Melissa, a lot of hype around game 1 inside Bridgeforth Stadium. I know you've got some pretty cool themes and things planned for that game. We don't want you to give away all of it, but what are some things that fans can expect to see when they make their way through the turnstiles on August 30th at 6 p.m., hopefully a little earlier? We want them to get in to see the intro and everything that comes with it. What can fans expect?
Yeah, we're really excited. This game we're calling it our Beach Day at Bridgeforth game, trying to play into the August game that we have here this year, which is unlike the past couple of years for us. So really leaning into that, we'll have a splash zone for the student section in section 120. So any students that want to be a part of that can sit there. They'll get shirts. We'll get them wet during touchdowns. If you guys are familiar with the splash zones with the Orioles, it's a lot like that. But we'll play games with them and different things, our activations on the video board, our music. You'll very much feel a beachy theme on Saturday. And we're excited for that. It should be a good game. The weather looks awesome. Yeah. Forecast for Saturday. So we're really excited to get things started.
Well, Melissa, I'm going to give you a chance just to, as a last kind of shout out to your team. I know it takes a village to make any of this stuff a reality, from obviously the staff that's inside the stadium to the planning efforts, the media teams. Just want to give you the floor to recognize anybody or everyone that helps your team be successful on game days, and make sure that all of us who come in as fans have the best possible experience when we go to a JMU football game.
Yeah, I think it starts from the top. Having Matt's support and all of administration support to really do new and exciting things like this. It really empowers our staff to bring bold things to the table and say, hey, I think we can do this. Let's do it. And so that in itself is something that I am forever grateful for. But then also my staff here, we work so many hours. We've had 7 events in the last week. And it's a grind. Yeah. But, we're able to do cool and unique things like bringing this Marvel partnership. And that's because of the staff, from the fan engagement staff to the creative services staff to the folks that work for our video board staff. All of those people make what I do and what we do successful and put the best show on that we can for you all as fans.
Well, I know it's greatly appreciated, and I hope what I'm about to say also helps you. Is remember, this is part of what we've discussed on the show for the last couple of years now. Is that this staff listens to fans? They listen to your feedback. They listen to your input. So if there are things you're seeing that you like, let them know. This is the perfect opportunity using the tools and platforms we all have at our disposal. If you see stuff inside the program that you want to see more of, let them know. I know you guys collect surveys and other sorts of feedback that help guide your decisions, because I know something that Matt has shared with us is they want to continue to build those bridges and connections to the fan base, and it's that type of interaction that matters. But Melissa, thank you again for your efforts, and we know you're just getting started. Be sure to hydrate, rest a little bit, because I know the gauntlet begins not just for podcasters, it's for the team that works around JMU as well. Trust me, hit week 5, 6, you're like, man, this is a grind. But we are greatly appreciative of all your efforts, because I know it's going to make for a fun day on Saturday, and the rest of the season. We'll be looking for the announcements that I know you're going to be rolling out. There's probably still some surprises that we don't all know about. So stay tuned to all the JMU Sports social media platforms, as well as their website. They'll be rolling out some new announcements over the weeks to come. But Melissa, I'll let you get back to your Sunday and the resting part, hopefully, before I know the new week begins. But thanks again for everything. And I know we'll talk soon.
Of course. Thanks, Jonathan.
All right, go Dukes. And with that, we are going to bring in one of our hosts. We have another host who's going to join us in a second, but we're going to bring on Taylor Atkins, because Taylor had the opportunity to go to Meet the Dukes Day. We want to get his reaction from it. First of all, Taylor, pretty great stuff from Melissa. I know we have highlighted on numerous occasions just how impressed we have been with this staff's ability to continue to enhance the experience inside Bridgeforth Stadium, to continue to bring in new elements that make even us old timers who come all the time go, wow, that's new and it's exciting, and it just ramps up every aspect of feeling like, wow, that's worth my time that you invest on a Saturday inside Bridgeforth Stadium is pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, having Melissa on and you hear her talk about her staff, I had a chance to talk with Brad Burgess from Athletic Ticketing, Scooter Rankin of the Duke Club, saw Jeff Poglace, our W Athletic Director, saw Kurt Dudley out there. And, as I was leaving Bridgeforth, we say it so much, but it's really special to have kind of the administrative staff that we have at JMU. These people, I mean, they care about JMU. And in a day and age of where college athletics is, I mean, there's a lot of paid mercenaries out there. You're at the school that you're at because it's the stepping stone for the next big thing. There are a lot of people that want to be at JMU, that are working at JMU, and they go above and beyond what their job requirements, what it asks for them. Speaking of Brad Burgess and the conversation I had with him, they did have those end zone suites set up for people to look at Meet the Dukes Day, and I was excited about them when Roan brought them up. I was excited about them and those 50-yard line seats on the Godwin side, because it's just a new and innovative way. I mean, you're talking about an additional 6 figures of revenue for the football program that we didn't have before. But it wasn't until I saw them, and I want to put this plug in for those seats. The view is spectacular. You probably don't realize it from some of the renderings. They are elevated. So I would say that they're not necessarily at ground level. And that level of elevation, I don't know if it's 4 feet off the ground, 5 feet off the ground. It's somewhere in that vicinity. It does make a difference when you're watching the game, especially when the ball's on the other end of the stadium. And for me, I'm sure a lot of people have spent a lot of their time in Bridgeforth on the newly expanded side of Bridgeforth, looking over towards the Godwin side. This is a great view to take in the game and just see the majority of the crowd that makes up Bridgeforth Stadium and really get that atmosphere. So I was talking to Brad. They are selling well. I mean, I think they have suites sold for every game this year, but they do still have suites available throughout the season. I would imagine after they're seeing this first week at Weber State, that they're going to go quickly. So I would encourage people to reach out to JMU Athletics and the ticket office to check those out, because once you see it in person, you're going to see it's a really cool way to watch the game.
Yeah, I'll say I did not know what to expect from them. I just thought they were going to put some chairs, and then when you showed the video to me, it was impressive. The elevation piece was something I was not expecting at all.
It's hard to put. I mean, for those that saw the video that we posted on our social media, that does. But until you're there, standing there, it may or may not be something that someone would want to sit there for an entire season. But I guarantee you, for a game or two, or for an entire season for that matter, if that's your cup of tea, it's just a really cool way to watch the football game. And I think we should point out that I think for every 2 seats in there, you also have they give you a club access pass, so you can go back and forth and see the game from multiple areas. I mean, they've really done it right to add some value to these seats, and it's a neat way to watch the game.
Oh yeah, and you also have access to some additional parking passes that come with it, and as well as catering opportunities through Airmark to make that experience as really as customized as you want it to be. I was going to ask you, Taylor, just to take those who couldn't make it to meet the Duke stay inside, what that atmosphere is like. We talked after your thing, and there were a few things that you said to me that really are the hallmark of what my Meet the Duke stay experience is, with just how above and beyond the athletes went to making sure that everyone was there, had such a special experience, and I know you got a chance to experience that yourself.
Oh gosh, I mean, I could spend the next 30 minutes naming off every athlete from every team that was intentional and took the time with a lot of the kids there. I mean, probably one of the most popular parts of the field was the tennis team had a tennis net set up and tennis rackets, and kids were out there. Lacrosse team. There's a great picture of my son that was on the JMU Sports website today of doing kind of these mini track hurdles for the kids. So it's a really cool opportunity.
I will say he looked better doing the track hurdles than you did at the Hall of Fame in Atlanta. So the athletic genes are bubbling up with him. It's all that soccer that I know you love.
Yeah, and you have it's a Saturday night. It's a bunch of college kids, but they are out there giving it their all. And I just think the intentionality they take with the kids. And again, I could shout out everyone from every team, but I'm going to give two names: Isaiah Alston and Michael Scott. Those two guys in the corner end zone spent the entire 2 hours running routes with kids, talking them through it, giving them tips. I mean, just really playing it up. And there were my two boys, especially, James came home and he was like, can we go in the backyard and do that thing where we were running routes? And I mean, it lights a fire under them. And those are guys that they're going to watch. It's a core memory for sure. So I do want to say Michael Scott, Isaiah Alston, you guys were great, along with, again, dozens and dozens and dozens of other athletes I could name. But if you haven't been to the Meet the Duke Stay, especially if you have kids, it is worth the trip. It will get them engaged and involved, and really kind of have them identify with the team that they're watching this year, and get them excited for the upcoming season.
Well, and I'll say, I mean, from past ones that I've gone to, it was Meet the Duke Stay that led my daughter to start playing field hockey, and that's kind of continued in terms of something that she's interested in. That came solely out of some of those athletes taking a few extra minutes to really make sure that a young girl had an exciting time, that they knew that they were approachable. I know the coaches do this as well, is to make sure that they're accessible, and that accessibility, as Matt Rowe mentioned last week, is becoming a hallmark of this program. It's something that's been there in the past, but again, this staff continues to find ways to ramp that up and to make more inroads into new fans that hopefully become fans for life. And that really, for me, is a good transition into what we're going to talk about this week is game one in Weber State, that everything that comes with it is because there are going to be a lot of new fans inside Bridgeforth Stadium, probably for the first time. Obviously, the freshmen that will be in the end zone, getting to experience that splash pad, everything that comes with it, giving them an opportunity to have a great first game as a college football fan inside Bridgeforth is the best way to get them set up for success for the remainder of the season. And hopefully those students continue to come back. And then again, we've talked at nauseum about that can create lifelong season ticket holders and everything that comes with it. So lots of exciting things from that. I'm glad you did get a chance to get up there. With that, though, we are going to bring in Afton as our third host for today's episode. Afton, welcome to JMU Sound Off again. You're a veteran now. You're back for your second week. Guys, JMU week one opponent is an opponent we're all familiar with. I will ask you, Afton, how old were you for that game? Because you let us know that you were 2 for the Virginia Tech game. So
I was young. I don't know how young, but I was young. The most recent game when we played them away, I wasn't that young. But okay, that's true. Yeah. I know I was at the 2 home games. So, but I was young.
That game, 2017, Ethan Rackey with a walk-off field goal, 31-28. I remember distinctly being in section 109 as that fourth quarter went on, and it was not looking good, to say the least, that we were going to pull that one out. Taylor, is there something that you remember from that game, maybe that sticks out more than anything, other than obviously the obvious moment when Ethan Rackey, kicked that through the uprights, which was pretty special. That was a fun night inside Bridgeforth.
Oh yeah, I wasn't there. I was in San Antonio.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But we did have some JMU San Antonio folks at my house. I think 3 or 4 couples I had never met before. And I made a fool of myself. I think when they hit that field goal, I took the JMU flag and I ran up and down the cul-de-sac in our neighborhood in San Antonio. And, if it was with you guys, you'd be like, well, that's just Taylor. But again, there were some JMU fans that was the first time they had met me, and that was their first interaction with me. And I think some of them still talk to me. So
yeah, well, we've played them obviously 2017, the 31-28 victory. In 2019, JMU won 30-14 to advance to his fourth national championship. And then in 2021, JMU wins 34-27 at Weber State. I remember a lot of fans who made out there just talked about how beautiful it was in Weber and everything that comes with that program. So it's really cool to have an FCS opponent that has some familiarity with our fan base, familiarity with some traditions and history. Afton, I'm going to go to you. When you look at this team coming into this season, they did finish 4-8 last year. They did beat number 8 Montana. What is your early read of what you think you're going to expect to see from this group?
Well, their coach, Mickey Mental, he hasn't had a hot start his first 2 years. So I think him and the whole team need to come out with a sense of urgency, right? He was 4-8 last year, 10-13 overall. So he's got worse, actually, his first year to his second year. So I think this is a big year. It's probably going to be a big emphasis. And the stats showed this defense was not good last year. Not at all. So they need to force more turnovers. And I think this game's going to be a huge game for them to prove. He can prove himself as a coach. And if they come into Bridgeforth and win, that'll be a huge win for Weber State.
Well, and Taylor, fans are starting to do maybe their scout of this team. You know, the question pretty much everyone asks before they take an opponent: who's going to be under center at quarterback for Weber State? Yeah, and I know that's a big question. What's your read of this group, and there might be a connection to another program you've had some experience with in the past?
Well, our listeners probably have no idea, but I used to work at UTSA. This is breaking news. I've never mentioned it on this podcast before, but
I'll add that to the tally.
It looks like the starting QB1 for Weber State this week is a UTSA transfer, former 3-star recruit. Did not see any playing time at UTSA, never took a snap there. I'm personally not familiar with him at all, other than where he's transferring from. But they do seem pretty high on him. But kind of like Afton was saying, I think Afton and I had a chance to kind of review some of the articles that have been written about Weber State by their local media. And it just seems like this is not the Weber State that JMU fans know. They've dug themselves in a hole. They were ranked near the bottom in offensive production, defensive production. Turnovers was a really big deal for them last year. Not only them turning the ball over, but not getting enough turnovers from other opponents. And so, as a former FCS program, I never liked when other schools kind of assumed this would be an easy game because it was FCS. I think not only do we respect FCS opponents, but we respect Weber State.
Yeah.
Having said that, it's not the Weber State traditionally that we've seen. The only kind of asterisk I'd put to that was one, Gardner Webb was not they did not finish a good FCS program last year, so we saw what that was. And number two, in the era of NIL, we say this all the time, in transfer portal, we really don't have any clue what this Weber State team is going to be, other than, like Afton said, their coach has had kind of a rough start. He comes from a Division II background. I think that's where he spent over a decade at Notre Dame, Ohio, not Notre Dame, University of Notre Dame, but and then came on Weber State as the offensive coordinator for 1 year, and I believe this is his third year as head coach. So if you're asking me to read the signs and what we can see on paper, this does not look like a tough game. I think the 25.5-point spread that we opened with, if it's me, based on what I'm looking at paper, I think we break that. I think we go over. But there's just a lot of question marks for us. There's a lot of question marks for them. And really, this is probably the way our schedule lays out. It's going to be really good to get a game like this under our belts. And then we're going to have to go the week after to the opposite end of the spectrum and play arguably one of our toughest games on the schedule. And then we go into that Liberty game after a bye week into week 4. So the schedule, we're going to know a lot about this JMU team by the end of September.
Well, again, just to go through some of the things they lost. They lost last year's starting quarterback, their running back, 2 starting offensive linemen, 2 cornerbacks, 1 starting defensive end who transferred, while a pair of veterans, banged up linebackers also out. So this is a group, just like anybody in the college football area. I'm sure if there's a Weber State podcast, they're looking at JMU and looking at all that we lost, and there's just this transition. But the FCS teams continue to lose those key starters because they make their way up to programs like JMU or further. So the way I look at this game going in is it's really about the opponent being JMU and JMU having to answer some of the questions that podcasts like ours, as well as media members, continue to ask is, who is going to be starting quarterback for JMU under center? Will we see multiple quarterbacks? How are these new wide receivers and running backs going to mesh? And I think really success is going to be determined in a lot of ways by how quickly this team gels on week one and how fast can they get out of the gate. Because as you mentioned, Taylor, it only gets harder when you look at what's coming the following week at Louisville. So one of the keys, though, is don't overlook this first opponent. Have a good start and set yourself up for a good foundation to build off of. After, when you look at this game, and obviously, again, as Taylor mentioned, respecting the opponent we're going to play, what are some of the questions that you have about this team this JMU team that you want to see answered in week one?
Yeah, I think one of the obvious answers is you want to see the lineups, right? You want to see who's at quarterback, who's at running back, and we've been embarrassment of riches at running back. So it's going to be exciting to see how Coach Sims and Coach Chesney use it, right? How long is a day going to play? How long is Pettaway going to play? Is Joey Mallory going to be ahead of Jordan Fuller and Wayne Knight, right? And then the chemistry, right? Quarterback to receiver. We don't have a receiver from last year, right? Yep. So I think the chemistry, the lineups, and I'm excited to see the crowd's reaction to this team. There's a lot of build-up hype around this team. So I think the new students, the incoming freshmen, they're all going to love it. And I just want to see the reaction to everybody. It's going to be exciting.
Taylor, what about you? Any questions that stand out in your mind of like, what are you hoping to see in the first quarter that will make you, maybe have a little bit more confidence about this team meeting or matching the expectations that we all have for them this season? Because I know those expectations, not just from fans like us, are so high. As Coach Chesney has said, the internal expectations for this program are as high, if not exceeding, even what people like us are saying.
Yeah, you want to see a team go out there and operate in a disciplined way, despite who the opponent is across on the other side of the ball. I'm speaking from experience when I played in high school ball, but I think back, there was this team in high school, and I think they were on like a 30-game losing streak, and the team that I played for was not very good either, but it still seemed to always kind of be, even though we would beat this team, it was the worst game we'd play all year because we kind of went into it going, well, we're going to beat this team, and I don't see Coach Chesney's teams. I don't see that being something he overlooks as a coach. And to kind of speak on Michael's behalf, because he's hit this point before, that Gardner-Webb game last year, it was the coach's first time going through a JMU game day. And I don't mean from kickoff to when the clock hits 0. I mean from waking up to the team meal, to the team meetings, to the dog walk, to everything, and kind of how all that went and how the coaches needed to manage their team. So this might be a little too much fan speak, but I think there does go into a lot. And when you're managing the program, kind of understanding what every minute of the day is going to look like and what you need to prepare your team for. And because there's no one's going to argue, even on the Gardner-Webb side, that the two teams last year were even in terms of their athleticism, their ability to compete. So you have to account for what was the why that game was so close. And it wasn't because you had two evenly competitive teams. This Weber State game, obviously we have a lot of questions at quarterback. And even the questions we have at quarterback, we don't know if the quarterbacks, right, that you see against Weber State, are those the same quarterbacks that you see at Louisville, and so there's a lot of questions.
The same offense that they're running.
Which is that too. And this is where you get into the fan speak of like, well, of course they're going to hold back stuff because they don't want Louisville to say it. But then the other side of the argument is like, well, you don't want to do a lot of stuff for the very first time against, so you kind of go back and forth there. But you got the quarterback situation. Like Afton said, you have this brand new core of wide receivers. You have the coming back from injury, the guy that led the American Conference in rushing, and then you have on the other side the first team all Sun Belt running back. So you have those two guys leading a two-headed monster, and behind them is probably three other guys that could probably start for a lot of teams in the Sun Belt. Offensive line, very veteran. The depth, though, gets kind of shallow in terms of experience. So you kind of want to see how do some of those new guys perform. And then on the defensive side of the ball, again, this is a point that Michael talked about. No one knew who Eric O'Neill was last year.
Yeah.
That was not someone that people were talking about preseason, and then he ended up being a household name by the end. So I would love to walk away from that first game where you can really point to particular guys on the team and said, that guy played the same game against Weber State than he would have if he was playing Alabama. I mean, just the terms of the level of discipline and competitiveness, the mental mistakes. And then I guess the other thing is I just want to see the guys out there having fun. I want them to run out. I want them to enjoy the crowd, enjoy the atmosphere when they're coming back. When they get that third, fourth down stop, I want them running to the sidelines, having fun with it. And I just think, again, having year one under your belt and going into year two, there's going to be a comfortableness with this staff and getting these players ready that we didn't have last year.
Well, I want to react to that a little bit too, in that, and this is almost a little bit of a message to myself and anybody who's listening is I want to see how this team reacts if it doesn't go smoothly in the first couple of series.
Yep.
And I know, any fan who's attended the game where, we're all thinking the first play of the game's be a 75-yard touchdown pass or something, and the streamers are flying early, is you can feel that anxiety start to creep up as the game goes on when it's not going exactly the way. And we all remember how halftime was with Gardner-Webb last year, and there was some boos coming out of the stands. And my just message to fans as well as to myself is, remember how different this team looked from week 1 to week 2, but also week 1 to week 3. If you had told any of us in the stands in that first game last year that we had the potential to score 70 points against North Carolina, that our special teams were going to be doing the creative things that they were doing, I don't know if you would have been able to find a fan inside Bridgeforth that would have agreed with that when we reached 7:30 on that first Saturday, and people were making their way into the club lounge to go, oh my God, what's happening? So it's just preaching a little bit of patience with this team. Because remember, we do have 50 new players plus on this roster that are going to have to gel. And that goes both ways. Weber State's going to have to gel, but same with JMU. And what I want to see is, how does this team react when there is a little bit of adversity, when there is some need to play through some challenging moments? Because as we saw last year, this team was able to do that and was able to really find some rhythm. And especially if it is Alonzo Barnett under center, remembering Alonzo is a quarterback that's coming off a major injury. You've got Sluka, who's coming in after everything that happened to him last year. If it's Camden Coleman's transferring up from Richmond. There's just so much that's going to need to gel at one period of time. So I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't perfection on the first series. And anybody who watched the games yesterday, you saw there were a lot of fumbles yesterday. There were a lot of penalties that you should expect the same.
And I think going back to last year, because I was reliving the schedule, we're talking about what the team needs to do given the potential roller coaster this first month could be. I think there's a lot to say for the fan base too, and just the atmosphere we create, because there was no great – I don't remember a greater first half of the season roller coaster in recent memory than last year. I mean, the Charlotte game, the score looked much better than we felt after the game, and we were kind of 50-50, like we don't know where this team's going to be. Then we go to Gardner-Webb, and it was – I mean, people were ready to jump ship after week 2.
Yeah.
Then week 3, we remember Carolina, and you have RG3, tweeting about how Alonzo's a Heisman. We're getting top 25 votes. Come home, beat the snot out of Ball State. I forgot what the score was, but it was too high for me to remember. And now we're back to thinking, okay, maybe Alonzo's going to win the Heisman. Maybe we can crack the top 10. This team's going places. And then we go to what was arguably, I mean, Coach Matthews talked about it preseason when he came on our show, was talking about how ULM, they're picked to be the basement of the Sun Belt. But then we lost that game, and now you don't know what to think. I mean, you have the first 2 games that make you feel like the glass is half empty. You had the next 2 games that felt like you were all world. The ULM game comes out of nowhere, and you just don't know what to do. And even leading to the end of the season, that the way the App State game kind of ended things and, really put a damper on conference championship hopes, and obviously the overtime loss to Marshall. This is a fan podcast. The message is to the fans. the fans play a role in how we are received to the internal fan base, the diehards, right? We have a role to play with what I'd say kind of the lukewarm bandwagon fans, the people that went to JMU but don't make it back to games much and have only really started following the program since the FBS days. And then you have that third external audience of how everyone outside of the JMU bubble is viewing JMU. Yeah. And so I think, listen, give criticism where criticism is necessary. Yeah. We're fans. It's okay to talk about things you don't like or things that go bad. So I'm not here to lecture on how to be a fan, but there is a role that the fan base has to play. And again, when you look at this schedule, while I think we can go undefeated, and in my dreams, I'm already saying we're going undefeated. There's going to be some bumps and bruises along the way, and but we still have an opportunity to do some really special stuff this year.
Afton, I want to go to you really quick, just to put a bow on Weber State. Are there any players that you looked at on this roster that go, wow, that could be somebody that causes our offense or defense some heartburn in the early going of a game? Because this Weber State team does have some talent.
Yeah, I touched on it last week, and I'll touch on it again. The cornerback room is my favorite room this year for JMU, but they're all new. And Weber State has a really fast receiver, Jalen Record. He only had 312 yards last year, but he had 5 touchdowns, and he's got named one of their captains, right? So you got to expect he's one of the players coming back offense. Coach trusts him, and he's a really fast receiver. If you watch his highlights, he can run past anybody. And when you watch our game against UNC, we might have scored 70 points, but we gave up 50, right? There's a lot of deep balls, and then you watch the App State game, we just got beat over top a ton in the second half, right? So I think it's going to be interesting. Can we handle Jalen Record? And also, if we can't, to John's point, how are we going to handle it? Is it going to go downhill? Are there going to be boos in the stadium like Gardner-Webb? What's going to be our response to it? But hopefully we won't need a response to see our cornerbacks come out immediately and just shut them down.
Awesome. Love to hear it out. I wanted to really quickly, before we transition to some of the other things that we want to talk about today, we've got some predictions and some around the horn type of conversation. I just want to ask you for all of you, this week leading up to the first game of the season is always special because a lot of us pull out, the tailgate bins for the first time in a while. You start planning menus. It's just, for me, there's no better time of year because the text threads come alive and there's just such excitement. There's so much energy that now starts a week in and week out opportunity to have mini reunions with the people in JMU universe that are so special to all of us. And it's just no better time of the year, in addition to the fact that it seems like there's a college football game on every night now. So if you're a degenerate junkie like the three of us are, we know you're going to have some things to enjoy. But Taylor, it's a pretty special time. I know our tailgate spot's going to be alive this year in big ways. But I know this means a lot to you as well. And the memories you get to make with your kids and family, it's pretty special.
I give this lecture every year, so let's keep the tradition up. It's just, I've talked about the friendships I have. I met my wife at JMU. I started my career at JMU. So these football games, they're more so a catalyst to the things that really mean a lot in life. I even yesterday caught up with our good buddy Davey Ahern, and he mentioned he wanted me to talk a lot more about Botetourt in Southwest Virginia. So I'm going to try and do that.
I'm sure
but, he and I were reminiscing over a friendship he had with a guy that hired me in the Duke Club, going on 15 plus years ago. And so, while it is all about the football game, and it's we want JMU to succeed. We want to win. We want the big crowds because it's a catalyst for all the things that mean so much to us. And, even before we got on, we were joking around with Afton, it was Afton's dad. Clearly at this point, I realized well before he was born, who I was walking by as a student in P-Lot when P-Lot had, a couple dozen tailgaters, and it was Afton's dad that was grilling some mini blue chickens when we were playing Delaware. And, it kind of got, and I remember, I think I was a freshman that year, and I was like, oh, like people at JMU care enough to grill the mascot for the other team. I don't know. It's one of those things where there's just so much more than football. And that's where I do push and say the reason we all care so much about this is because we care about the things that JMU football has created for us. And I go back to the original comments that started off the show about the staff at JMU. just talking to Jeff Poglace in the end zone last night. I mean, there's a guy who has been here from when not a lot of people outside of Harrisonburg really knew and cared about JMU, to a point where game day is making regular occurrences. Marvel wants to partner with us. We're getting top 25 rankings. So it's neat to see someone like him and the many others like him at JMU that have given their blood, sweat, and tears to make it is what it is today.
Yeah, I always think of somebody like Kurt Dudley, who has invested so much of his time and passion and energy and talents to this program. And you think about what's changed in the world since he's worked at JMU. But one constant has been falls in Harrisonburg every year, and everyone has come back now, and getting to watch this thing grow to what it is today is so special. And I think about where I started, a few years older than Afton is right now, coming to JMU games. And as we've joked about, I remember begging people to make the trek over from Eagle Hall, what the 150 feet it was from our dorm room. And I was met with a lot more no's than yeses, trying to get people inside Bridgeforth. And now we're already seeing, I think it took a couple of hours, if maybe not less, for the student tickets to sell out for this game and everything that comes with it. And now these students, the experience that they're going to get to enjoy is so unique compared to what any of us experienced. But it's just an opportunity again for us to ignite a passion in so many new people. There will be somebody inside that stadium on Saturday who comes to their first game that says, you know what, I'm hooked. They may start a podcast like this. They may buy season tickets, and you just never know what that spark is going to cause. And it's really special for the university. I wanted to give another shout out to our new president. I've really liked to see how much he's embraced athletics and just, making sure that new students feel at home. I saw him, help him with move in. He was out doing his fit check. There's just a lot of energy and excitement right now. And I think you will see that bleed into week one. Afton, what about you, man? What are you most excited about? I know you've been coming to Tailgate since you were a wee pup. I know Tailgate in a 2, there were some pictures going around this week of you in a it was a crib or as a stroller or something. We were looking at you when you were really, really young. But this is an exciting time, I know, for your entire family, and the extended side of my family also comes together on game days.
Yeah, so obviously we didn't play yesterday, but whenever we have a bye week or like yesterday, week 0, there's only a handful of games. But my favorite part about football season is I sat on my couch and watched every game the whole day, and it was just like one of the best days of the year, week 0. But like during tailgates, it's all lead up to the game, like Taylor said. But it's also when everybody's talking about a JMU game, everybody's previewing the game. What do they think is going to happen, right? But then you look at your phone, and I'll give you an example from yesterday. Idaho State's beating UNLV. And then everybody starts talking about that. It's awesome to see everybody bond over college football, no matter where you are, no matter what game it is. It's awesome to see everybody talk about it. And whenever the word gets out about that one team like Idaho State, it's just nonstop for the rest of the day. Did you see that Idaho State's beating UNLV? Do you see the quarterback has 350 yards? It's just awesome every single week.
Yeah, and it's crazy how one of those moments can spark so many different side conversations that literally power you through the week. I don't know. It's something I get emotional every year when I have a fresh flag to put out that I'll do this week that will fly in the house, and I get one every year from Purple Nation. By the way, the Purple Nation store, now the store in Midlothian. I got the hat as well. I'll have a fresh Where's Woody shirt to debut on Saturday. So just lots of really cool things. Taylor, I have to ask you though, just a very logistical question. So there's no better time to have this discussion than right now. Am I stopping at Buc-ee's on the way to the game on Saturday? Is there something you want me to pick up? Because I know I have to go right past it with the family. So is there a new tailgate item that I can offer to our tailgate experience when I pass it on 81?
So here's the appropriate Buc-ee's protocol, and I'm going to
write this down.
We'll just talk about this game.
Okay.
And I hope our buddy Way is listening, because I know he loves.
I'm sure he is.
All right. So it's a 6:00 game, which means, obviously there's tailgates and stuff. So you still stop at Buc-ee's.
Okay. So what time am I leaving? Because you're doing the planning that my wife is asking me to do right now. So what time am I hitting the road on? I have nothing else on the agenda.
Well, I don't want to name a time, because then the Eric Koosters of the world that are like, why aren't you out there at 8 o'clock?
So I'm gonna be generous to my let you sleep in, get some coffee. We're gonna say I'm gonna shoot for 9:30, which is probably gonna become 10. Let's just be honest.
Sure, but you want to go. You want your Buc-ee's. This is going to be a light Buc-ee's because you're going to have a day full of tailgating.
That's
now
true.
there's your post-game Buc-ee's meal, if it's
Which
a
gives us
devastating
24 hours a day.
Yes, if it's and I'm not talking just for this game, but any game if it's a devastating loss, which I hope we have none, you go to Buc-ee's and you binge eat because you're sad, okay? But if it's a blowout win or a big win, well, then you go to Buc-ee's and you binge eat because you're just happy because calories don't matter after a big win. I would say the only maybe post-game Buc-ee's stop you don't do is when it's the spread was 7 and you won by 9. So it's not like a big win, not a close. I will allow you to drive by Buc-ee's, assuming that you didn't stop at Buc-ee's before the game. So
Taylor's going to like the sound of this, but if it's a noon game, why not drive up there, get some Buc-ee's, game's over, burritos, and then come back and get some more Buc-ee's, right?
Well, yeah, I was going to say we're on the way up. The breakfast burrito I've heard from Buc-ee's is quite spectacular.
Yeah, you can get it both ways.
This is why it's important to have friends that don't have reserved spots because they can make Buc-ee's runs for you throughout the day. True. So,
okay,
I
am definitely picking up at the very least some beaver nuggets. That's on these. So he didn't say it, but beaver nuggets. He's going to get mad at me because I'm going to buy one of the fancy beaver nuggets, which he says I have to get the original. So original beaver nuggets and something fancy on the side. We'll load up. Has he decided what time you guys are hitting the road?
Probably 9, maybe 10. I don't really know.
So we're all going up around between 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Noted.
Maybe it'll be a Buc-ee's run.
Get ahead, as everybody said. I know it's not early enough. Should be 6 a.m., but gotta pace ourselves. I've got the kids coming this week, so we're gonna make it a manageable experience. Guys, exciting. We could talk just tailgate and everything all night long, but I know we did want to get into some predictions for this season. All of us put together our own list of 3 predictions that we haven't shared with each other, so I have no idea where this is going to go. So Taylor, I'm going to start with you. Your first prediction. We'll go around. We'll each make one, and then we're going to make note of these and see how accurate we were as we go throughout the season. So, what is your first prediction for this upcoming season? Go any way you want.
Yeah, I'm going to start soft. This isn't going to really wow anybody, but I think it's going to be undeniable that at the end of the season, JMU will once again finish as the top team in the Commonwealth, and that would be ranked by who is or isn't getting votes in the polls. That's by, if you want to look at Sagarin, if you want to look at Massey, any of these objective rating systems, that it would be clear that I think Virginia Tech is going to finish very close. Maybe it's because I don't like Liberty, but I'm not even going to put them at 3. I think UVA might end up having a little bit better of a season than most people think, and then I might put Liberty above those folks down in Norfolk. But okay. All that matters, I think I think JMU will objectively finish the season as the best team in the Commonwealth.
All right, there you go. Afton, your first prediction.
I'm going to go straight into it, going big. we will play a playoff team in the regular season. John might say that this is a targeted Friday night game, but I'm not trying to imply anything, but John thinks it's a targeted to a Friday night game.
I think it is.
But we will play.
Hooked up to a lie detector test. That's what it would show. But here, I'll let your prediction. So we will play a playoff team. I like that, and I think you're actually spot on. By the way, although it could go different ways, because if we win the game against that Friday night team, they're not going to be a play. So lots of different ways.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
That's right. Thank you, Afton.
If we're a playoff team, they can be a playoff team.
Thank you, Afton.
Fair enough.
This is why we have on the show.
That's why you have. Hey, that's the insight you come to see. My first prediction, and I feel really strong about this, and I'm willing it into being, is JMU will break their losing streak against App State this year, and we just that is a non-negotiable. We break the streak against App State.
We have to.
Buy your white streamers now, okay?
Absolutely.
We don't throw snowballs because we're classy.
But we will throw white streamers.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Taylor, your second prediction.
All right, my second prediction is the Sun Belt Championship game will be a rematch of a regular season game.
That's good.
I know exactly where you're going with that.
And obviously, I'm drinking the purple Kool-Aid. JMU will be in that game, but I think the Sun Belt Championship game will be a rematch of a regular season game.
Okay, Afton.
Well, it was a big talk last year when we scored 70 points at UNC, and then we followed it up by scoring 63. Right, so I'm going to say we will score 70 points again this year, and it's going to be a big talk again.
Okay. Man, I'm agreeing with all these predictions. There's got to be something here that's controversial. My second prediction, and I feel really good about this, is we will see a punt return for a score in a meaningful moment this season. I'm trying to will things in. I want to see a Scotty McGee moment. Maybe it's Michael Scott. Maybe it's George Pettaway takes a punt back for a touchdown this year in a moment that we'll be talking about when we're doing a postseason recap. Looking back, I think we're going to point to a punt return as a big moment in this season.
I'm sure someone's going to call us out on this, but have we had, since Scotty McGee, has there been a moment? I know we've had some good punt returns. I know we had one I think last year at Coastal Carolina. I know there's been some playoff games, but I think those games are out of hand. Have we had where a Delaware 04, a McGee 08? I don't know if we have.
I think one.
We've had not super meaningful, but D'Angelo Amos had 2 in the same game. Right,
that's true.
Yes. But it wasn't like a.
See, that's what that young brain can cite. Like you that's not coming out of mine. That is a good memory though, and you're right.
You're specifically calling for a Cortez Thompson, Scotty.
I'm talking a moment when you need a big play that propels the team to victory. I think we're going to get one this year.
Like that. We need to review these at the end of the season.
I know. Too. Yeah, that's why we have recordings. All right, your third prediction, Taylor.
My third prediction, I outsourced this third prediction to our good friend Brooke Boyd, who I saw at Meet the Dukes. I gave her a little preview of what we were doing. I said, if you want one of my predictions, go for it. So she said, this is Brooke Boyd, we will host game day for the 4th time. But she didn't go broad and say, sometime this season. She said, we will host game day for the 4th time for the Washington State game. And she adds 2 more caveats to this. And that game will be elevated to an ESPN ABC game. And she thinks that the Marvel partnership will end up playing an even bigger role with all those things at play. So she didn't throw out the game day at some point. She went game specific, elevated TV game with a major Marvel component.
That's why I like Brooke Boyd. She's not dealing in abstract. She's going right on, put it on the line. Very specific prediction. I like that. Let us know, by the way, in the comments during this, what your predictions are, because it'll be great to see everyone on the record here in this platform, what they're predicting for the season. Afton, your third prediction.
This is kind of the opposite of what just happened there. This is broad. This is not a specific situation. So take your pick on this, but we will have a conference player of the year on this team. Take your pick. It can be whoever you want, but we will have a conference player of the year, whether it's running back, quarterback, Sluka, Barnett, Pettaway. We will have one.
Okay. I like that. My third prediction is important for a lot of reasons, but I am so confident, and it is tied to our conversation earlier in the broadcast. I am predicting that we sell out all 6 games at Bridgeforth Stadium this season. And it's the message that will send is going to be powerful. I saw Matt Rowan joking around on Twitter, some people saying that thought that the Marvel announcement had some sort of connection to a stadium expansion. I liked his reaction. He said, soon, stay tuned, sort of thing. He's playing around with it. But I think more importantly, the 6-for-6 sellout means that there's a very, very good chance that we are going to be in a position to host a 7th game at Bridgeforth Stadium. And I can't even imagine how exciting that would be to have our chance for our first Sun Belt championship at Bridgeforth Stadium, everything that could potentially be on the line coming with that game. And I think the fans are going to do their part in a big way this season to give this football team the chance to have one of those special seasons we're talking about years from now.
And we were one of only 3 G5 programs, I think, last year and really the last couple of years to average over 100% capacity for all of our games. I think there were only a dozen so teams in the country to do so. So, there are some Sun Belt teams that have boasted larger attendance records at times. I'm going to say 2 things to that. One, in the world of college athletics, let's just say the number reported is not always the number there, but it's a lot. It's a lot harder to fudge your numbers when there's a capacity issue. When you play in a 40,000 seat stadium like some of these other teams, you can fudge a couple of thousand here there. We can't fudge 30,000 in a 25,000 seats. So I think that goes to that capacity percentage should be a bragging point for the JMU Nation. And one more reason, Mr. Matt Roan is even talking about potential new opportunities. So,
Afton, I know you had a 4th prediction, so I'm going to give you a chance to throw it out there. Why not?
So Taylor already took a little shot at Liberty, talking to Commonwealth, right?
I'm
going to kick a man while he's down. We're going to score 50 points against Liberty.
Woo!
We're going to score 50. We're going to run him out of the building.
I'm just telling you right now, I'm not clipping that.
Right.
I'm not going to clip that prediction just for the sole interest of I don't want to see our mentions get flooded for the next couple of weeks. So that will be just for viewers of this platform. So if there are some Liberty fans that do watch this, we appreciate your support. You can clip it, but I'm not putting that out because I can't deal with it. It's just too much. Yeah, man, this was fun. I like all of our predictions. I think are pretty spot in line, and I can't wait to see what some of our fans of the program put in the comments because it will be cool to look back on this when we get towards the end of the season. I also think my fourth prediction is that there's somebody on this team that none of us have been talking about, as we see every year, who's going to lead into being an impactful player for this team. It's going to have their own moments. So I'm always excited to see who emerges on this roster to what you said earlier, Afton, that who becomes the Eric O'Neal of this season, because I think there's some potential candidates that if they are making their mark, it means some special things happen. I did want to go. We are right on our outline in terms of timing for the show, which is great to see. Around the Sun Belt a little bit, guys. Any opening games that you're looking at for week one that you're going to have your eye on, maybe a little closer than everything else? Because I know there's always some games early on that we have a chance to go, man, that's a sign of something that we might see down the road or a storyline that we need to be invested in. Taylor, I'll go to you.
Well, I have a couple games in mind, and I know we all share some of these, so we can kind of talk about it a little bit. But I always hate when a game puts me in a position where I'm cheering for a rival. But I'm going to say go Monarchs.
Same.
That first game of the year against Indiana.
We'll give a shout out to our friends, the Monarchist podcast. I'll put on an ODU shirt, hat, whatever, if they can knock Kurt Signetti off his pedestal a little bit.
So we got Monarchs in Indiana, Coastal and UVA. A lot of people are down on Coastal. A lot of people are a little higher on UVA than normal. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't have the line in front of me. I think I saw like 12 or 15, 17, somewhere in that, which traditionally I would think Coastal historically the last few years would have been a favorite in this game. Yeah. So looking at that, and then, App Charlotte, just because there's a rivalry there, but both teams have a lot of question marks.
Point on that one, the App State Charlotte game, I think is important because anytime a Sun Belt team can get a win over an American team in this era of the playoff rankings, everything matters. So that's one where I will also be rooting for a Sun Belt rival to get a victory, because we need the Sun Belt to have a good opening couple of weeks, because that matters when you're plotting what we hope to see down the road.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I want to give you all the chance if y'all have any Indiana or UVA. But I don't want to rush through these games.
Like I need a little bit of humbleness injected into Indiana and the staff around there. Bygones be bygones. Wish them all the best. The former Dukes, I hope, have all the success in the world, and we don't need to go into that. But to see a Sun Belt team, with all the talk about what their scheduling philosophy is going to be like and everything else, I would just be overjoyed if I saw the Monarchs. And again, that would also it benefits JMU if ODU has a good start and is able to knock off a school like Indiana that is everything that goes with that. That's going to increase those rankings for the Sun Belt, which is going to be so important when we're talking about playoff rankings down the road. Because I am if we're talking about it around the Sun Belt sort of message, I am very bullish on the team that ODU is this year. I think they are. If you were to ask me, looking at this schedule, what our hardest game on the schedule is, that's not Louisville. I think this Louisville team has potential to go a long way as well. I think that game against ODU in Harrisonburg is going to be for a lot on the line. And you look at what they bring back, their quarterback, and how lucky we have been to get wins in the last few games. That is a program that has our matchup circled on the calendar, and it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it's, and I'll kick it to after this, but it's hard for me to cheer against the Sun Belt in out of conference play, just because, especially if we have one or two losses, then we're going to need that strength of schedule to be up there. And so, and again, as both Matt Rohn and others have talked about, the atmosphere, the environment of college football is forever changing, and you're always wanting to position both your individual brand and your conference as one of the most competitive, one of the best. And the Sun Belt has an early chance to do a lot of that. I'll kick to after, because he mentioned this game. You mentioned Liberty, Maine before the show kicked off. I thought that was a great pick, to talk a little bit about what you're looking for there.
Yeah, before I say that, I'm going to add on to what John said. I agree with him with the ODU thing. If you were to ask me another hot take, I think ODU is going to finish second in the East, in my opinion.
Ooh,
but
I like that. Yeah,
there were 3 to 4 conference games I circled. Most of them already been said, and then 3 out of conference. So if we're staying in conference, you said App State Charlotte, right? That's the Duke's Mayo Classic. I think that's going to be a great game. We've always talked about in our family that Charlotte would be a good candidate to join the Sun Belt. So that's a big game. And then you mentioned Coastal UVA. That's going to be a really good game. And then you might think I'm crazy, but Marshall, Georgia. You might say, well, Marshall's never going to win. But if you look back a couple years ago, they went into Notre Dame and won. This happens. It happens. At same day, beat Texas A&M. So I'm looking at that game. You never know. You never know. And then out of conference, there's a game I'm going to on Thursday, ECU NC State.
Oh, yes.
That's been a brewing rivalry these past couple of years.
Oh, well, as an ECU, that's been a rivalry for 40, 50
years.
Yeah. That thing. And they're the last game that they played was in the bowl game last year. So, I'll never – for those of you that don't remember, because my parents went to East Carolina, and I've followed that team for years. I forgot what hurricane it was, but there was a hurricane that flooded Greenville, and they were supposed to play Miami in Greenville. And NC State opened up their stadium to allow the East Carolina-Miami game to take place. East Carolina won that game, and they tore down NC State's goalpost.
That's awesome.
So,
only in college football.
East Carolina NC State is one of those real hate-filled rivalries that people just don't know about it. But the fact that I overlooked that after that is definitely going to be something circled on my list.
I'll be there so I can tell you all about it.
Please, yes.
All right. Well, guys, anything else around the Sun Belt before we wrap today? I think this was a really good discussion, though. Any other news and notes?
You mentioned Liberty, Maine. I mean, listen.
Yeah, let's go back to our old CAA days. We know what the talent that exists in that conference. I know obviously it's a different conference now than it was a couple of years ago, but Maine is a program that historically has given some teams some fits, and it would be interesting. I know that there's an argument to be made that we want Liberty to be firing on all cylinders and to win that game, so that when we beat them, they're ranked a certain way. But
we play enough good teams that I'm okay with Liberty losing.
I am totally okay with them being demoralized by Maine, and then a few less Liberty fans show up to the game against us. So
and then we'll score 50 points against them. In my opinion.
And I'm going to get another. While I'll also be watching East Carolina NC State Thursday night, Towson visits Norfolk State for Michael Vick's debut.
Yeah. That is an interesting story. I am intrigued to see how they do in year one, and obviously with all the storylines that go into that. I hope that program has success. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I have kind of 2 final thoughts here. Yep. Last one on the schedule here, another Thursday night game. College football playoff implications, Boise State at USF.
Yes.
That's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
And then I got to give a shout out to Weber State's conference foe, Idaho State. I went into that game yesterday. I wanted UNLV to lose just because, they're a playoff contender. And I went into that game having no confidence in Idaho State. And their quarterback, Jordan Cook, impressed me. That game was the most fun to watch yesterday for a Week 0 game. I sat down and watched the entire thing. It was a fantastic game. And Idaho State's offense had 555 yards of offense, total yards. So I just had to give a shout out to their conference foe.
Well, I want to give my final thought for the show is I want to give a shout out to former JMU long snapper Jack Maury, who was a part of Hawaii's win yesterday over Stanford. Always good to see JMU players who made an impact in terms of just their personality and everything he was. It was sad to see him go, but glad to see him have some success in his first game at Hawaii. So shout out to Jack. I know that was a big moment for them. But guys, hey, it's game week. 6 days. Yeah, Taylor, ask your.
The last thing is I haven't talked to Matt Rohn in any detail about this, but I feel like he's hinted that there are some special things for kind of the game day leading up to kickoff, the kind of the intro, the pregame festivities. So I don't know any details of it. I think there's some things that are kind of a surprise. So this is just our annual shout out to tell everybody, get in the stadium early. You've seen, go ahead.
And I was going to say, and one way to do that is to make sure that you've downloaded your tickets in advance. This is also a reminder to me, download the tickets into the app, get a clear bag, make sure you've printed out your parking pass. Because I know there's always some confusion. If you could just show the barcode, remember to print it out. Those are some things that you can do. And I remember they have the Canon now, which tells you.
That's incredibly helpful.
Agreed. To win it, but also set up the tailgate so it's easy to break down. We need to be efficient. We need to be like those pit crews and make sure that we're practicing, also getting ready to set up and take down stuff. But I guess our final note is, if you're a fan of this platform and what we put together, please come say hello to us next Saturday. We'd love to get a chance to chat. We're going to be out in the tailgate lots doing some stuff with our friends from Where's Woody, as well as the Dead Meat Society. We're going to be going around looking for some of the best tailgates. We're going to be doing some content around that to recognize those of you who go above and beyond to make sure your grilling prowess is legendary. So maybe we'll stop by Afton. Maybe we'll stop by your dad's tailgate, see what he's grilling up. I know you said some Mexican on tap for this week, so maybe he gets a shout out. But we're going to be going throughout the lots to say hello to a lot of people. But again, we do this show because of all of you, and we've been so impressed and really humbled by the response to our content this summer and as we've started the fall. So any chance that we get to say thank you and any chance we to get to interact and engage is always fun. So thank you again for your efforts, and excited for the reunion again that is only 6 days away. Final shout out to all of our sponsors again for helping to make this possible. You are the reason why the show happens every Saturday, starting with Skyline Financial Partners, Champions Drive Bourbon, Where's Woody, Purple Nation, Shoker Enterprises, the Dead Meat Society, and Outdoor Kitchen Creations. Please visit their websites, give them some support, and show them that you are so grateful for their efforts to support this podcast. And again, please subscribe to our channels, our YouTube page, all of our social media accounts. Those are going to be the place where you're going to see some of the giveaways that we have coming out over the weeks to come. That's our way of saying thank you to you, and we're appreciative of our sponsors allowing us to do that. And with that, safe travels to everyone making their way up to Bridgeforth. If you're not able to make it to game one in Harrisonburg, find a way to watch the JMU game on ESPN Plus with some Dukes in your community. I know there's watch parties all over the place where you can get together with some fellow JMU graduates and celebrate the season that is upon us. And with that, we will end our show as we do every week with Go Dukes, and we will see you next week for another episode of JMU Sound Off. Go